Hello YouTubers, it's Travis again with another episode of Dad, Can You Fix It? In today's episode I'm working on a 2012 Audi A7. I'm going to be installing this carlinkit CarPlay module. Unfortunately, I was having some problems with the GoPro, and that's why I've already started the removal process. It's really easy to get out that AC temp control. Make sure you have a proper panel popper. There you can see, right there you can see, and right there you can see where these tabs on the back of this AC controller would clip into. There's actually two on the top, two on the bottom. Again, YouTube, apologize for getting ahead of you on that deal. Obviously, once you get that out, you've got three quick connectors that you have to unplug here. You got the little red safety tab on them. Just pull up on the red safety tab, depress the black plastic, in this case the brown plastic, and in this case the black plastic. These aren't the bail type connectors. They're super simple, straightforward. Got the little red safety thing, and then just put some pressure on it, gently pull, and we're going to remove this. Looks to be about an 8 mil from here. Alright, so we're back. I've got my 8 mil on a 1/4 inch ratchet with a little 3-inch extension. Give me access to this 8 millimeter bolt here. And through the magic of video, we're going to go ahead and remove that right now. You can pull this radio out very simply to that point. Now, as you can see here right from the beginning of the video, I went ahead and just set the parking brake and put the shifter all the way far back as it'll go. Once you have the radio out to that point, obviously you've got the parking assist on-off switch and the trunk switch and a traction control switch. You're going to have to unplug all of those switches first, because the actual wiring is going to prevent you from pulling out the stereo any further from what you see there. Get you a little shot of those connectors. One there and one there. Once you remove those two connectors, you'll see the radio will be able to come out quite a bit, and that will give you access to the main plugs that we're going to need to access back here to go ahead and install the CarLink module. Right there is an example of one of the plugs for that connector right there that goes to the trunk and traction control switch. Super simple, no safety on them or anything. Just got to depress the plastic and pull out. Removing the antennas and the wiring harnesses from the 2012 Audi A7 Quattro multimedia unit to install a CarLink CarPlay module. As you can see here, we've gotten to the back of the stereo, and now we have to unplug those connectors. I removed the radio to make the access easier for you to view, but I'm going to go ahead and explain how you unplug each and every one of these antennas, satellite antennas. Here's one right there, little plastic tab, so you can see what I'm doing with my finger. Maybe you have to give it a little wiggle to unplug. I know sometimes this is tricky. Maybe you think you have one stuck or you're doing it wrong. As you can see there, same idea, little plastic tab, give it a jiggle and a wiggle. Same idea here, except it's going to be this white plastic tab. Same idea on this purple colored connector, white plastic tab. And then this one is what I like to call a bail type connector. Tyco started making these several years ago. I don't know who makes this particular one. Probably not Tyco, being a German car. But anyways, Tyco started doing this, and some other manufacturer followed suit. As you can see, that little slot right there lines up with a groove. Not a groove, but like a nipple, I should say, inside the radio. You line that up, you press it in a little bit, and then you close that bail till you hear it click. And that slotted portion you see there rides down that nipple and then locks in. And that's what this is going to carry all of your main power and whatnot to the stereo. Now this one here, this is fiber optic, folks. You got to be very careful whenever you're working around this kind of cable, because if you break it, it will no longer work. Believe it or not, this sends an optical signal back to the amplifier in the back, and it turns a light into sound. Gotta love the technology. Alright, so we're back on the driver's side here of the 2012 Audi A7. What you have to do is remove this knee blocker plate so that you can install the actual module somewhere in this area. Now, what I did notice about this box is there's no mounting tabs. There's nowhere for me to zip tie it or anything to. And when I'm working on a high-end car like this, I certainly don't want anything rattling around, you know, back here behind the dash. This panel here, you've got these pressure clips. As you can see, I removed this and this bolt unnecessarily on both sides because it was so tight it felt like there were screws holding it there. No big deal really. Those little plastics that cover that area just pop right out. You can see alignment hole, and then where your tabs go. Same idea on this side. Didn't really need to do that, but I was pulling so hard on this thing, I was nervous that I was going to break it. I figured there was more screws. But anyways, you can see these 3 tabs. It's just a lot of pressure. Just, you know, gently pull it and it'll pop loose. She'll come right on down. And then as you can see, you've got all this area here. Now the main plug for the radio, you can see there's a hole back there towards the very, very back. There's a circle and a square. You're going to want to fish that through the square hole and end up on the other side here. As you can see, that purple right there, that's part of that plug. I'm trying to fish on this side, and then that's what we're going to continue to do. And then I'm going to show you how to mount this box up. So just be careful when you're fishing the wires through. Skinning my hands up is something normal. All you 12-volt guys, you know the same thing. Anyhow, you can see now I have the factory stereo plug on the driver's side here behind the knee blocker. Got plenty of room to work with it now. I'll go ahead and install this connector harness so that we can install this module and get this project done. Alright, so I have the main connector pulled back through. It was a little bit trickier pulling that harness back through that way than it actually was going the other way. So in hindsight, I would probably pull this one before I pull this one for the AC back through the hole where you push the other one through. I've definitely got a couple little nicks on my hand. I mean, it might be a good idea to wear a glove or something. I'm used to doing this stuff. That wiring harness there, I should say, plugs directly into the module itself. Alright, so as you can see here, I'm holding the module and all the dip switches are in the off position. Down would be on, up is off. This particular A7 says for them to all be off. According to the very limited instructions that come with this module, I'm not going to use any of this stuff here. I'm not 100% sure. It looks like this is probably to maybe power up an aftermarket backup camera, or maybe if you change out the stereo. I'm not 100% sure. But it says I don't have to hook that up. Obviously, there's an HDMI in here, so you could probably hook up a television monitor There's our LVDS plug, which is one more we're going to have to fish up through the dash and connect to, I believe it was the gray one. And then we got the can. That's going to be all this plug down here. That's how it interfaces with the actual vehicle. And then the RF cable, that is a radio frequency. I believe this has RF antenna, wired RAN. This is the adapter that goes now to the original radio. There's your plug from your original radio to said adapter. And then of course it tees off and goes into this module. And then as we discussed earlier, this is the AC, I'm going to say they said bypass cable. I'm going to show you how to plug that in more towards the end of this video. But for right now, we're going to start putting the stereo back together. Okay, so the LVDS cable is the gray one. As you can see back here, I made a little room because I wanted to show you. I ended up routing the AC wire underneath this plastic because the AC controller obviously is going to go underneath that plastic. And I'm actually going to move it on this side so that it's in line with this. Anyways, you got the LVDS cable. In case you're confused about that, it plugs into the gray one. The yellow one is probably for the backup camera system. Sorry, it's off camera. The yellow one's probably for the backup camera system, but the gray one I know for a fact is the LVDS cable. And I'm also gonna go ahead and just connect this AC controller to the bypass while I'm right here. Push this on this side. There we go. Fish that there. Flip it around this way. Make sure you hear an audible click. The safety locked back in when I did that. And then what I'm going to do is watch out for that. I'm going to go ahead and tuck this end back underneath it here and then have this end stick out. That way that's not making any interference with the factory setup. One thing I didn't mention earlier is those white plastic clips are also safeties. So once you lock these connectors back in, you'll push the safety back in. So what I've done is I'm go ahead and I've got everything going back together here. And there's a little foam block right here on the back of this. And you can sort of see in there where it says RF cam. You can see I found a nice place. You can actually see that foam block too. You can see I had to cut it in half, and actually does a very nice job of making that nice and tight where it's not going to go anywhere. So you can see I just mounted the box right next to the actual head unit back there. There's a little foam block. Take your little hacksaw. I just sort of eyeballed it. Cut it in half, stuck the panel up there. It seemed like it was going to fit good. Nice snug fit. The box doesn't move, won't make any noise. And I just went ahead and put the panel back. Obviously, guys, it's the 2 screws that I didn't need to take out that I did. The 2 screws down there at the bottom, and then one here at the side, 8 mils. Real simple, straightforward. Right now, I'm about 3 hours into this job. I am taking my time and playing with the Android Auto a little bit. You know, I would say if you're going to do this job, I would say base your price off 2 to 3 hours labor for your customer. You could probably do it quicker. I've been making the YouTube video and taking my time with it. By the time you route the cables and nick your hands up, I'd say 2 hours labor would be fair.